Now, usually when we think of a cookie, we think of a treat or a reward, right? But in this context, it's actually a mental reserve. It is a place where you store memories of obstacles you have overcome. You have to see and you have to understand that it's not only about the wins and the trophies that you got for this year, but it's the fact that you went through hell. You struggled a lot and you faced a lot of problems, but you are still here and you're still okay. A resume, or like your recapping or cataloging simply your wins, is actually for the world. It's for your boss, it's for Instagram, it's for family, etc. But your cookie jar is for you. It tells you who you are. We are now at the part of the year where most people are already sharing their 2025 recap reels or videos. The promotions, the travels, the shiny moments, the wins, set the trending audio. It's like the resume version of the year. But if I'm being honest, I think by mid December, most of us just don't feel successful. We feel beaten down and we feel exhausted. You see, the problem, if we only look at our trophies or our wins, is that we forget the gritty, messy resilience it took to get them. And in this episode, we are not cataloging your wins this year. We are cataloging your survival. We are not just looking at the trophies or the wins, but we are going to remind ourselves of our survival. We are going to remind ourselves of the memory of the hell we walked through this year to get them. Hello, beautiful people. This is Laura Ravina, a 28-year-old corporate leader and public speaker who is still learning out loud. And welcome to the Laura Ravina podcast, where I share a messy, beautiful journey. Before I share my story, I want to explain a concept I recently learned, which is the cookie jar method, coined by David Goggins. Now, usually when we think of a cookie, we think of a treat or a reward, right? But in this context, it's actually a mental reserve. It is a place where you store memories of obstacles you have overcome. Now, the concept is very simple yet powerful. You do not use your cookie jar when you are happy. You use it when you are suffering. When you want to quit or when you want to just stop doing anything, you reach to your cookie jar, eat the cookie, and remember a time when you felt exhausted or tired or afraid but kept going anyway. It's like a reminder to your brain that I have been in hell before and I survived it. I am the kind of person who thrives. So, how does a cookie jar look like in real life? I tell you, it is not usually pretty. So, now I am going to share with you my biggest cookie from this year, 2025. It is not something that I have shared on social media. And I'm quite hesitant to share this, but I'm going to share this anyway because this is my messy, beautiful journey. I actually almost quit my job this year. I had the resignation letter ready and I was already actively looking for a new job. And I'm being serious about that. I remember wanting to, just find a new job because this year, for context, in our company, there were a lot of massive changes that we had to do. I felt like we don't have a choice but to do them. Okay. And there was one point in my career this year that I really felt so exhausted. I felt so confused. I felt so lost. And with the current position that I'm in right now, I also get blamed for the decisions and the changes that we had to make. Okay. And I know that. I know, As leaders, we get blamed. Okay, leadership gets blamed all of the time or most of the time. And again, I know that. I am aware of that. I signed up for that 100%. Like I expected that to happen. But what I'm saying is just knowing it does not make you drain your energy any less. Okay, the impact is still the same. And then, while I was thinking about it, I realized a very, very uncomfortable truth. Because there's this voice that started creeping in and telling me, Love, I think you have to quit. Maybe you're not meant to do this job. Maybe you don't deserve this. Maybe, I am too weak for this. But then again, I realized a very, very uncomfortable truth. That voice telling me to quit, it was actually my ego. It was my ego who wanted to be the perfect leader who never struggles and who knows everything. And I had to, ground myself again and remind myself, Love, you are only in the second year of this position. And this is the first time in the company's long history that you're making these massive changes. It's like I had to remind myself to be more compassionate and to be kinder to myself because I am navigating an uncharted territory. So I would say that was my biggest win or my biggest cookie from this year. Okay, it's not that I was able to solve everything overnight. Obviously not. That's impossible. But I think my cookie or my win from this year is staying, even though I wanted to run. Because I know that things are not easy, things will never be easy, but I still decided to stay, even though I wanted to run. And again, that's like my cookie, my biggest cookie for this year. So, how do we use this cookie jar method in our lives? I am going to share with you a three-part framework so you can also apply the cookie jar method in your own life. The first part is to distinguish between what a resume is and what a cookie jar is. Okay, you have to understand the difference. A resume, or like recapping or cataloging simply your wins, is actually for the world. It's for your boss, it's for Instagram, it's for family, etc. But your cookie jar is for you. It tells you who you are. So let me show you an example or give you an example of my resume version and my cookie jar version that I have experienced this year. The resume version is that I am able to relaunch my podcast this year. Yay! That's why I'm here and you're listening to this podcast. But the cookie jar version of that is I almost, okay, I almost canceled my free, take note, my free recording session here at Sonor Studios because I was so terrified and I was so afraid. But I showed up anyway. And I remember recording my comeback episode. I was so vulnerable. I even cried in that episode, but still, we were able to release that episode. So you see the difference. A resume highlights your wins or the result, the final product. But a cookie jar, it actually shows you the battles that you fought that no one else knows about. That's the difference. It's very important that you are able to distinguish between the two. Now, the second part is to reframe your struggles or your trauma. Okay, we actually call this the cognitive reframing, and it works because sometimes when we experience something difficult or when we go through a challenge or a problem, we see it as a trauma or we see it as stress, right? That's very human. However, it's important that you also learn how to reframe these struggles and see them not as trauma or stress, but see them as evidence or proof or training. It's like a proof or evidence that you have the ability to survive a struggle or a difficulty. So, in my context, I actually made a commitment to myself this year that I'm going to try new things every single month. Okay. I actually call myself the connoisseur of comfort zones because if I am going to choose, I will always choose safety and comfort over struggle. I think that's very pretty common to most of us, right? Like if we have to choose, we'll always choose safety or comfort. But because I am challenging myself every single month to do something new, to immerse myself in scary new experiences, then it actually allowed me to reframe and see those experiences because every time I try something new, I try that scary new thing and I survive. I did not die. It's actually a proof to myself that love, look at yourself. You're able to do this scary thing and you're still alive. Basically, it is teaching me this very important lesson that I learned this year, and it's that I am going to be fundamentally okay. And that is the point. Okay, that is the point of this cookie jar method. You have to see and you have to understand that it's not only about the wins and the trophies that you got for this year, but it's the fact that you went through hell. You struggled a lot and you faced a lot of problems, but you are still here and you're still okay. So that's a key step or part in this framework in doing the cookie jar method. And the third part, and this is most especially true and important to corporate leaders or corporate employees out there, if you're working with a team, we call it our corporate cookie. Basically, applying this same concept with your team as well and share this with your team. Because I know that most organizations, if not all, most organizations this year have also struggled and have went through a lot of challenges, right? But if you come to think of it, your past success metrics or KPIs are not going to help you navigate new problems or challenges in the future. So it's very important that you, as a leader, remember the times or the moments when your team gathered to collectively solve a problem or when you showed up and you continued despite navigating an uncharted territory. Those are your corporate cookies. You have to teach your team and you have to allow yourself as well to, reach to that corporate cookie and remember that despite and in spite of the many challenges and difficulties your team or organization has gone through, you're still here and that you have the ability to do the same thing in the future. So there you have it, the three-part framework and how you can apply the cookie jar method in your own life. And here is my specific challenge to you, my dear listeners. First, I want you to grab your phone, okay, and look at your camera roll. Then scroll back to January 2025. Then I want you to look at your videos or pictures that are not Instagram worthy. I want you to look at the pictures or the photos where you look tired or the videos when you were crying because I have that or those moments where you had a late night snack because you were working overtime. Look at those photos or videos and then I want you to write them down. Okay, I want you to write statements or phrases like I survived this crisis or I survived the breakup. I survived this challenge. Okay, write them down and put them somewhere visible because this is your way of reminding yourself that again, you have survived a lot this year. And this is teaching yourself and your brain as well to not only see the wins or the trophies, but also the experiences that you went through this year. So let's recap. The cookie jar method is again reminding yourself not really about what you have achieved this year, but it's reminding yourself how resilient you are. Because our resume, it actually tells the world what you did, but your cookie jar, it tells the world who you are. And I want you to remember this, especially when we navigate next year, because next year won't be easy. It won't be easier than this year, okay? I tell you that. Maybe it will be as hard as this year or even harder. When that happens, I don't want you to look at your trophy or your wins. I want you to look at your cookie jar, reach to that jar, eat a cookie, and remind yourself, I have been in hell before and I survived it. I am okay. And I am the kind of person who thrives. It's a very reminder, it's a very important reminder for ourselves. So, if you resonated with this topic, make sure to follow the Love Ravina podcast. We are going to keep having conversations like this, surrounding, revolving around leadership, public speaking, and growth. Until next time, let us keep showing up, speaking up, and leading boldly. Happy holidays!